Cool. You good to start?
Or so you just kind of want me to like introduce myself and like run down what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, kind of. Well, oh, you don't need like a lifelong introduction, but kind of like what you like, maybe like the type of player you are, and if you have any kind of goals that you're trying to achieve right now.
Oh yeah. So I can get started into that. So I've always been playing MapleStory like on and off.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a really casual player. Like I don't consider myself serious at all. But
Mm-hmm.
during the 2-2 event, I saw like all the leveling potions and then the EXP buffs with the Mudo dude, like more damage like normal monsters. I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like let me take advantage of this event and just like make a bunch of characters and just level them up. So I guess I can consider myself like a quote-unquote Legion main because like I don't have a main. I just started playing like every class because I didn't know what class I wanted to play to. I don't know, like which class I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
So I did make a couple characters for like the Terror Burnings and like Winter, but like I just got them to like 200. Like my highest is like 229 in Evan, and it's only 229 because we had like that free EXP event where we did like the train conductor, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was never serious about that. I was just playing my Evan because it's like my highest level character. But
Yeah,
after playing
like
Evan,
would be a
like,
waste to not use it on anything. So that just happened to be.
like I just wanted to use the events on like something,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, Evan's not for me, and then that just kind of brought me to the point where I am right now. Like I have a 219 Arc and a 217 Adele.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only classes that I'm missing that I haven't made are like Explorer Warriors and Explorer Pirates and Explorer Mages.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm kind of settled on the Adele and the Arc, but mainly the Adele because it's just very chill for me, and I found that that's like the most enjoyable or fun class that I enjoy playing out of all the classes that I've played.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So my goals right now is just to like just progress, nothing like crazy or hardcore, just casually
Mm-hmm.
try to get like a 250 character, and then I've never gotten to the point where I could like actually farm with like all the fancy like wealth acquisition potion or anything. Like I don't really pop totems that often, so just like
Mm-hmm.
being able to progress like casually, hopefully like 250 like whenever, and then just upgrade my gear, stuff like that, to the point where I could like completely like one-shot the mobs or whatever, and just like have like a character where I can actually like quote unquote farm and just like chill. So that's what I'm trying to do on Adele right now.
Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to, so you don't use the wops and stuff, you use totems? Like for the sessions in a row?
Yeah, so I'm like a really new player, like super casual. Like I know what the WAP is. It like increases like your meso rate, whatever, by like 20% or something. But like I don't even know how to like make them. I know you have to like craft them through alchemy and stuff, but like
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even learned all the professions because like I don't think, like I don't know when I'm supposed to use them, and I don't think it's useful at like a lower level where I still should just be like trying to level up and like get the symbols or whatever.
Yeah, I
That
mean, it can be, but essentially you want to use them once you feel like you're reaching kind of the potential of your killing speed, which would be on a totem and, near one-shotting, or, as long as you can kill monsters before the respawn, right? As long as you can map clear. And if, the more Mesoptane you already have, the better, but as long as, switching into the Mesoptane gear does not take away from the kill speed, then you want to do that, and then the potions can be thrown up on top as a pile. But yeah, you typically not using them when you're like level 65 or something, right? Because it's not very impactful, and there is a limited access to them. So most people will start using them probably around like, I would say probably once they start training in Arcana, most likely is like the earliest when you will have some meso stuff. Unless your character specifically like a meso farmer, then some people might be in Lachaline on Arcana or something, might already be using them. But that's usually around that point in time is probably when people start crafting them and start using them to train, and start getting that mileage out of them.
Yeah, so that's like why I haven't really like, looked into it. Like I didn't know what was like the, I don't know, minimum threshold of using the potion, but you just said Arcana / Lackland, so
Yeah, around there usually.
yeah, so this Adele has been like pretty casual. Like I haven't like hardcore grounded on like totems or anything, but I figured like once I'm at the point where I can like one shot and everything, and just be able to comfortably like have damage and drop gear, which I don't have. It's just like casual gear, like newbie gear, whatever. Then I would like start popping totems or whatever. But
Yep.
yeah.
So I guess how's your access to totems in general? Like, are you good on reward points?
Yeah, so for reward points, I have a friend that takes me through CRA and then just like lower bosses. So I do get like 1K something weekly, and then I also do MapleStory M. Like I should do it every day, but I don't. But I have like a good amount of reward points just like stacked up, since I don't really, not really using totems right now. I have like 20K or something.
Right. Okay. So that part is okay. And you were talking about like crafting the potions and everything. The main ingredient that you're always looking for is the juniper berry seed oils. That's your bottleneck basically always. And what I usually advise for new players is to just always harvest whenever you see big like gold flowers or bigger. Just always harvest them, regardless of what character you're on, and and to unlock all of your professions on every character just as soon as you can. I think level 33, so that you always have the ability to harvest if you see one of those, so that you can slowly, like over time, just build up the resources. Because if you're playing casually, that way you will get enough juniper berry seed oils, and you will definitely have enough to be able to cover the big training sessions you're doing. Because but it kind of depends on like the level of comfort that you are going to be aiming for. If you're okay with like up until now like doing most stuff off totems, I mean once you go on totem, going off totem again is going to be rough, because once you get used to how fast things are and how much you get and all that, it can be harder to go back. I don't know, you have to know yourself a little bit better, I guess, than I could there, on whether you are going to be okay with sometimes on, sometimes off. That's fine, but it kind of goes with all the things, right? Like if you always have experience coupons, you always have a totem, you always have a WAP, and you always have an experience accumulation potion, the E-up, and if you always have the Legion buffs, right, and then all of those things stacking, and the Monster Park buffs and everything stacking. You could do, like, if you're casual and you don't want to grind too much, you could just, make sure you save up all the resources, and then when you do a totem, throw everything on it, and then otherwise, you're just, like, chilling, you're just doing dailies or whatever. That's usually what I do. Like, I don't train much, but then when I do, I have all of the resources possible, like, all smushed together to optimize the hours that I do spend.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds like the approach I'd go with, like, pretty, like, chill and casual, and then, like, if I do want to go like quote unquote hard or whatever, like during the training session with like a 2-hour totem, then I'd pop like other resources. But like, not everything has to be like, oh, I'm gonna use a totem whenever I train. Like sometimes I'll just like go on a map and like whack monsters for like 10 minutes just for fun. So.
Yeah, then a totem wouldn't even get its full value, so it wouldn't even make sense to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're not even going to be finishing all your totems and stuff, then just harvesting on all the characters that you have, that generally builds up a whole lot. But seeing as you already have a decent size of Legion, do you know if you already have a bunch of these resources, like juniper berry seeds and juniper berry seed oils? Or so as far as the juniper berry seed and oils, I highly doubt that I have any, because I don't like
unlock
your professions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I wasn't sure when that like actually like mattered, but to like I guess to like build the potions, like it actually does matter. So what you're saying is that I should just like unlock the professions and then go on the map, and whenever I see a flower, just like harvest it, right?
Big flowers and big veins I would always harvest. Yeah, there's like a small chance as well for primals, which are later used to make Meister rings. So I just like the thing is, if you are actively looking for a certain ingredient and you try to chase it, then you like never get it. But if you're just a little bit over time, just constantly exposing yourself to just the attempt of doing it just over a long period of time, you don't really feel like you're really spending like 20 hours farming flowers and rocks, because it's just spread over such a long period of time, and it's just a little bit here and there. And that's usually how I do it, and because of my more, I think like a similar casual approach, but like over more hours, but the way I train and everything, I do always have those resources available for the same reason. and I was able to do that the whole time through this. That's because there is another way that you can get a lot of juniperberry seed oils, but it requires way more setup, and it requires a little bit more, well, it requires more investment and upkeep on your end to be able to get way, to get them. But then probably you'll get so many that you'll just be left with a whole bunch, and you'll be overproducing them. So that might not be necessary to be able to maintain the way that you're going to be approaching the game.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. So like, you know, if I overproduce and like I don't use it, then there's really no point. And then also like,
you could overproduce for a while and then just never have to do it again. You could do that approach until you ever get close to, you know, finishing them and then reactivate it or something.
Yeah,
that's
I guess
possible.
I guess it just depends how much investment I would have to initially put in, because like I only recently unlocked like Lotus and Demon, and doing the Lotus pre-crest, I was just like so bored out of my mind. Like you know, not to the point where I was gonna like quit the game, but I was just like, this sucks, you know, like the Lotus pre-crest. So
yeah, it's a good thing you only have to do it once per account, and then it's unlocked for all the other characters. So they're gonna do that for a lot more stuff in Destiny as well. That the pre-quests for the areas in Arcane River and for bosses are all gonna be linked. So once you do it on one character, you're gonna be good for a while. Thank God.
yeah, because, so I think I'd rather go with the, you know, the casual approach, like even just like if I see like a big vein or flower in the map, I just like farm it, and then
always harvest it.
Yeah, and then just kind of like accumulate over time, because you know, I'm not the type of player to be like, oh, every time I have to train I have to like, you know, pop like the WAP potion or whatever. It's just you know, this is not me. So
yeah, then I think the other one would be, if you want to look into the other thing, it's called Mushroom Shrine. So if you Google for that, there's going to be some guides probably out there, so you can look up on how to do that. But that's if you want to, you know, let's say there's an event and you want to go super hard during the event and you don't really have a big like bulk, you know, then you can try that, for example.
Okay, what would I look up exactly, like Mushroom Shrine?
Yeah, that's like basically the only reason at this point why you do Mushroom Shrine is to like mass produce junipers. That's basically the only purpose of it so far. There's like one other skill, but basically Mushroom Shrine is like kind of like a friendship dating sim thing. When there's a bunch of NPCs, you have to do a quest line, and then you get access to them, and then you give them gifts and talk to them and do daily stuff with them to build up your friendship. And then if they have a certain level of friendship, you can basically ask for gifts from them, and then you have to, I think for half an hour, you have to not CC, not log out, and like stay in the same area, and then you not stay in the same area, but you can't CC, like cash up and stuff like that, and then you'll just get a reward at the end, and you have to find which friend gives you the rewards of the bags that possibly have the season oils in them. And then once you find that one, you're basically just starting to mass produce rewards from that one character. Basically how it works. But there's like daily caps, and you know, all the NPCs want different things, and you have to do a pretty long quest line to even get to that point. So that's like the hassle and the setup that might be a bit too much depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, I think that's good to know. But I've done the Mushroom Shrine.
You got the wings?
On my other characters, not this one. And I don't know, I just kind of hate that. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah. That's probably what I mean. I think that's probably the most annoying thing down. The rest is just a little bit tedious. But you could do, you know, if you're like AFK for a while, you could try it, and then once you find the NPC, because there's a thing with like the first character of the week that you talk to changes what type of rewards they give, but the second one doesn't. So you have to like maintain friendship with two, and then with the first one it resets, and then the second one you already know what it's going to be, and then you always build and then give items to the second one. I don't know. There's like specific things. I would have to look it up as well to see exactly how it works, because I, like, you know, with my approach, I've always just gone off of harvesting what I see, and then usually I'm fine. So
yeah, okay,
but yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, that's like another thing, like another caveat with MapleStory that I have. Like, you would never know like this kind of stuff unless you talk to like another experienced player that actually like knows it, you know, because I don't think there's like a official like MapleStory guide about Mushroom Shrine. Like, I don't even know what that is, you know. Like, I didn't know it gave you like crafting materials and all that stuff. I just knew that it gave you Wings of Fate, whatever.
Oh yeah. There's the thing after that. Yeah, it came out a while ago, but they kind of like built up. It was like kind of a season 2, quote unquote, of the area, and also it's not KMS content, so it's not as mainstream. It's kind of more hidden, and then some of the skills and stuff and the other stuff that you can get interacts a little bit weird with game content. Sometimes probably not exactly as intended and everything. So it's kind of like dodgy content as well, but it's kind of in there. But KMS doesn't have it, so even if it needs to be changed, it doesn't really get changed quickly because because of the delay in the regions and everything. So people just sometimes find interesting uses for it. But yeah, the amount of oils that you can produce and everything really puts it on another level if you're trying to go for level 300 and put hundreds of hours and thousands of hours into training. Then it's basically the only way to go to guarantee mass production. But yeah, I would have to look up the guide specifically as well to set it all up. There's some stuff out there. Yeah.
Alright, yeah, I see. Yeah, but I'll probably go with the casual or just harvesting the big veins and flowers.
Well, you will be mainly getting a lot of value when your training sessions and stuff that you do from Legion coins, right? Because I imagine the coin buildup is pretty good now with your Legion being the size that it is.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. I just I don't know. I probably like waste a couple hundred like pretty frequently buying the epic pot scrolls, but yeah, it's I get like 100 something coins every day. So
yeah. So personally, I've never bought the epic pot scrolls, and it's mainly because once you start doing bosses on many characters, you get a lot of master craftsman cubes, and I just trickle those down onto characters to get stuff to epic, and then use the gold cubes to reroll. So the main thing, like the WSE, right, weapon secondary and emblem, get those to epic. And then just roll something nice with the cults. And if you do that with all the characters, then they're very easy to get to 200. And then, some characters are able to access a little bit more or more easily some bosses than other characters. And then basically the whole concept is just like a giant snowball, right, that you're trying to push. And then at a certain point, it just starts rolling, and you can't, even if you wanted to, you can't even stop it. The amount of resources, the amount of money you just get on a weekly basis. At a certain point, you're going to have to actually look for things that can that can use the resources, because you just have so much of it, just to make sure that it doesn't expire.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense because you have like multiple like bossing deals. But for me, like being at my point, I just I guess my main concern is just like getting actually a high level where I can actually like make decent money just by hitting monsters in the map and collecting metal, So.
Well, yeah, because you've been Legion maining, which means that you can get the Legion levels, you can get access to the Legion coins, but there's still a tick of imbalance when it comes to. And I mean, we're not following my regular structure, I guess, for the session, but that's fine. Are you familiar with my resources on my channel?
I think most of it, yeah. Which one are you directing me to right now?
Well, right now I'm thinking of the progression one. When we're talking about like balance within your account, right, and like where you spend your time and everything. Of course, if you're Legion maining, that's whatever. But if you are trying to go, or like if that's what's fun for you, then that's great. But you will get to a point where, the imbalance of the amount spent on Legion versus other stuff is going to really halt and slow down your progression. The main thing going to be that if all of your characters are just like barely at 200 or below, your income for node stones is basically zero. And node stones are a huge, or probably the biggest tool for power creep after 200, right? And then followed by the symbols. Yeah. So nodes is going to be the tricky part, because if you have one character right now, let's say you were in the same position Legion wise, but your main character was like you already had a 250, then that character's nodes would be pretty much done, and you would have a regular stream of node income as well whenever you trained on that, and then that would help you level up new characters and make those bossing mules very easily, because it's free damage that you don't have to throw mesos for your character at. You just open nodes and then you get damage that way.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm trying to do right now. Get 250, and then I think nodes are pretty hard to get. Like the only good way to get them right now is just like going to arcane river maps and just like hitting monsters until they drop at a very low rate. I also know that you can get nodes from events, but I think that's like one of the difficult points I have right now is like being able to like max out my nodes and everything. Definitely like an obstacle, because I have like other level 200 characters, but they feel like really weak because they have like no nodes. So
Yeah, it's basically like the Vanishing Journey daily reg is like 3 extra if you do it twice in a week, which is, you know, it's not nothing, but it's virtually nothing, because you probably get about as many or maybe even more just from doing the dailies, just from the drops. And then event stores for sure, and then training. If you're going to stay more, what you say, like more casual, and it's just like to grind out the levels, and not really going to be doing the high level bossing on the character, you can very easily focus. As an Adele in general, you already can. But you can more specifically focus on getting drop rate and mesogear, so that you can, you know, make the money to fund the character itself, but also mainly get that drop rate up so you can get way more nodes. And then you can, to a certain point, you know, depending on what that one character wants to reach. If the character wants to become, you know, a character that can kind of do the bosses around its level, kind of carry its own weight, but it's not going to be like a hyper carry, like look at me, look at the giant numbers I do. You can also not go all out on nodes and actually just like start trickling them down to other characters a little bit sooner. It depends on how much you want to min-max on that one character, which I'm getting this sense that you're not necessarily trying to do.
I think I'm at a point where I'm pretty comfortable just like putting everything into my Adele, because I'm not really interested in playing other characters right now. So.
Okay. All right. And the Adele, so the goal would be like 250, and then maybe like hard lucid and hard will runs, something like that.
Yeah, mainly 250. Bossing is just like it's whatever.
Okay.
I'm not too crazy on bossing because like I just want to get like to the point where I have like, you know, maxed out skills and everything. I could just like one shot stuff, and then you know, the drop and meso gear like you said. So I guess like farming would be like more of a priority than bossing in a way. So.
Yeah. We're kind of past the point where you really need to do certain bosses to be able to get the gear to be strong enough to do these things. With the amount of power creep that's in the game now, you can get to that point. Like, to give you an example, like my marksman got to 250, and this is over a year ago that it got to 250. Maybe even longer than that, or whatever. And like I had a dimension invasion glove, no absos, and then like think like 17 star most things, and then some legendaries here and there. And then that got to 250, you know, and of course Adele is like a magnitude stronger, easier to play in certain areas, and yeah, you'll be able to get there. Definitely, like that'll be achievable for sure. We kind of like outline equip wise what is the ideal way to do it, or more realistic path of what you can come across. But I don't foresee any problems. The main thing that will slow you down compared to what I had is for familiars. I don't know if you have anything in the way of familiars already.
My familiar, I don't think I really like to look at them. Let me. Yeah.
Like if you get them when you're doing Legion, do you just open them on the character itself?
No, they're usually just like on the character, and I don't really open them.
Okay, so you probably have like a few hundred of them spread over all of your characters now, then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that's a good start. That's a good start. So the thing with familiars is that there's an extra chunk of drop rate coming from familiars, and those will help you a lot in the beginning. It'll be a very cheap way in the beginning of basically getting the equivalent of 2 or 3 items with drop rate, which would cost you like 3 bill. But you could also just get lucky with a familiar and boom. Plus they also stack together, so it's not even a either or kind of situation. But that'll be a very nice base start to get those nodes rolling, right? And then the nodes are rolling, your kill speed goes up, and then the kill speed goes up, and with the drop rate, even more nodes, even stronger, and then hopefully that makes you money faster, and then with that more money, you can upgrade the equips, and then make money even faster, and get even more drops, and, you know, that snowball principle again coming into play.
Yeah, so, yeah, should I look for nodes? You know, when I open them, it says like something like continuously increases like drop rate or something like that, like by a small amount or something.
For familiars, you mean?
Yeah, familiars, not nodes, sorry.
Yep. The continuous one are usually for healing. Like continuously restores X and Y. The main ones that you're looking for. So I've got the familiar guide in the command. I don't know if you're in the chat, you can click the link there. You can look along. Basically, here you have all the info. You know, like the flat numbers, the stats, the metrics. You know, just the the full rundown that you can read up, and then there's basically advice all the way on the end on what I think is important to do, what you can be looking for. The most important is like these two here, like drop rate and IED, because I think your IED is a little bit on the lower side, right? You do have some extra functional as an Adele that doesn't really show up in your stat window, but in the beginning, well, yeah, and you have the mobbing setup, right? So you can even hyperstat switch, plus ID familiars. You'll probably be at an okay. I imagine that you're pretty quickly. You can be at like an 85 plus-ish, which is okay for pretty much all of the bosses up until Lotus and Damien, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's like if you get these, they're just so good value because there's nothing else you can really get that's valuable on familiars. So if you can get either of those, then you're chilling.
Yeah, so I should look for the familiar card that says like increases drop rate by like a small amount, right?
Yeah, for that you can check the drop rate command, and there I explain everything about what percentages are equivalent to which lines on the familiar, and then what rarity you can find them, and then also how everything stacks and what kind of goals in drop rate you want to aim for to make to get the functionality out of it, like how much drop rate you need to always get a bag to drop, and then what the different caps are on drop rate and on Meso Obtain, and where you usually get those resources. That's all explained here. So in the beginning, if you're just opening up familiars, ideally the one you want to get to is you want to open up all the rares that you get, and then ideally find an increased item drop rate. That'll be 50% drop rate. If you can't find that, if you can only find a small amount, that's fine too. That's still 30%. That's still really nice. So whichever one you find, you just hold on to, and then if you find the other one, you just upgrade it.
Okay, yeah, I see.
And then if you're mobbing versus bossing, you can do the other preset. Have you done the same when it comes to presets? Have you done that for hyperstats as well, or are you just basically solo focused on mobbing damage?
Mobbing damage.
Okay. So you've got normal monster damage and then arcane power, yeah. And then between arcane power and bonus EXP once you start killing properly, right?
You mean like one shot and I should put into bonus EXP?
Yeah, because then you don't need the damage anymore from that piece, and you'll keep getting more damage with the nodes, with the symbols, right? That'll be where all the damage comes from, because that's final damage. That's going to be way more impactful, and then you can start scaling up a little bit the bonus EXP per hit just to level up faster.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, let me know if we're like jumping around a little bit too much, because I realize that we're going like from one topic into another one pretty quickly. And this is still your show, so let me know if you need extra information on something, or if a connection that we're making feels like it's not completely underlined properly, and you still have remaining questions with that. Let me know at any time, okay?
Yeah. No, I'm definitely following. I'm just looking at the the drop rate stack and GMS reboot data that you have here, and yeah, outlines pretty. I'd say it outlines everything pretty well. What's like the max, or does it already say in like this document like the max amount of like drop rate and meso that you can stack?
Yeah, so if you look at the bottom of the first page, that's basically, so you have like the familiar unit, blah blah blah, stack with the respective sources of equip, drop rate, and meso obtain, which have a total max of 200% and 100%. So your equipment part, so the lines of 20%, you can have 10 lines of equipment of drop rate at any time. I should say drop rate here, not equip, drop rate. And meso obtain can be up to 100%, so up to 5 lines can be active. So that's why underneath that you have the goal, and it says like, because you have 9 accessories, right, that can get those lines, which is the rings, the earrings, the pendants, the eye and the face, which is 9 slots in total. You want to maximize your meso obtain, 5 lines, to get to that 100%. And then you want to get as much drop rate with that as possible, because within this drop rate pretty easily, you'll get that 66.67% that's necessary to be able to always get a bag to drop from a monster. So that way you're increasing your income, which is, feels like a huge detour in the beginning, and it's a pretty big investment. But once you can optimize your money within the time that you're spending, now whenever an event comes around, you can hard capitalize and then jump on that event with the max amount of money you have available and make bigger gains, and then again, snowball just starts rolling faster. You're just spending a little bit more time compacting, the base of the snowball so that once you roll it, it doesn't fall apart halfway through. And that's basically what the... okay, I'm going to stop with the snowball analogies now. But yeah, that's essentially going to be the goal. And there might be a little bit of prep you need to do, because basically the way I always say it is the three main things that keep your damage up is your weapon, secondary, and emblem potential, is your nodes, and then is your arcane symbols. Arcane symbols, time consuming, pretty time gated. The nodes, kind of the same in the beginning, right? It will be dependent on your progression on the equips here, but you don't want to immediately start throwing everything into meso and drop rate, because most people don't have the Legion that you have. Legion usually just comes a little bit slower afterwards. With Legion, you kind of have a fourth thing that's already supplying for itself a lot of damage that will get you through those early things. Plus, you're playing an Adele as well, so you could get away with quite some drop in meso rate early without really sacrificing kill speed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so this part all makes sense? The drop in the meso and the caps and everything?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what to do with familiars? Yeah, so typically if you're just going to get to 250 and grind on the Adele, you can basically stay in Arcana the whole way through if you want to. If you're strong enough though and you have the arcane power, a lot of times at 245 people will opt, technically starting at 235 you could go to a Sphera and go to the spider maps. Adele's pretty good there, and they will start dropping familiars so that you can actively get familiars while you're training, and then start fusing them together to make epic familiars. And then for epic, you can have the large drop rate by a large amount, right? That's also here in the list. If you get that one, that's 100% drop rate. That is mainly one if if your character is kind of going to be more of a farming character actually than and a level character rather than a bossing character. That will be insanely valuable. Just that when you do bosses, you get more flames and cubes and all that stuff, which will help trickle down to your other characters. If you're regularly training, you'll just get way more nodes, right? And you'll see droplets and stuff like that. But it's a tricky one because you'll just be mass producing epics. But in your case, the only alternative to that is by making uniques to try to get more ID and boss damage, but that probably won't be your priority. And most of the time I would advise to go for that large amount first, again, so you can increase the amount of cards that you get, right, amount of familiars, so that you can make more uniques faster. And it's basically like making the meso gear to make more money to get to the finish line faster.
Okay, so I know a lot of people talk about the Sphera map, whatever. What's so special about the spider familiar cards that, why does everyone want those?
Well, the thing is that a lot of areas don't drop familiar cards at all. Until Sphera, Morass also drops cards, but a lot of the Morass maps just don't. It comes at a great cost to go there because the looting there is just not good. And it means that the amount of money and experience you're going to be making to sacrifice it for the cards that you might be getting is, in most cases, not worth it. So Sphera is the first area where the map layout is good enough to go there and to maybe take a little bit of a hit in experience and money compared to staying in Arcana, because the map layout in Arcana is just so good. And even though the other areas are higher level, people tend to stay in Arcana, especially on an Adele, because there's one map where you just have 2 ropes left and right. You just jump and kill one side of the map, fall into a gap, which teleports you to the other top of the map, and then you just do the same thing, and you just keep diagonally teleporting around, and it's super brain dead and super easy, and the experience is really, really good. So there has to be enough of an incentive to leave that and go do and for the value of the familiars. But the main thing is just Arcana has no familiars, right? So it's Morass is the first area, but kind of shitty. So the Arcana, the Sphera maps with the spiders are the first maps where people are okay, these rates are still decent, plus you can get cards. And like I was starting to say before, the main thing is where people will definitely start moving over is once you get to 245 and you can go into Moonbridge. Because there you have maps like VC3, which are great layouts and probably even be better rates depending on, kill speed and all that, and how well you lay out the map. And it'll be a little bit more intense, but in most metrics, it'll just be better than staying in Arcana. plus you also get cards there. And it's not specifically which monsters drop card, because the potential you get on the cards, it just depends on the rarity, on the level of the cards, whether it's a common or a rare or an epic. But if you can maintain high kill speed, and they drop cards, that means you get more cards, right? So those areas just lend themselves better to getting more cards and then to scaling up and to hopefully getting the large drop rate. Because if people are aiming for endgame, they will want to eventually start making those bossing and large healing and all of those cards. So they will just need thousands and thousands of thousands. And that's the main reason.
Okay, so the main reason why people switch to Sphere is just like for the familiar cards, because the maps previously don't drop that besides Morass.
Yeah, and it would be at too much of a cost, like getting the cards, but then losing half of your experience rate or something that just slows you down across the line too much. Some people are okay with that, other people aren't. I think with the Vac Pets, some people like to also go to the Shadow Dance Halls in Morass, because they have a lot of monsters, but it would be like with Akana, because you have a lot of summons, right? So you can cover a lot of ground. And there's a lot of platforms, but if you have a Vac Pet, it'll just suck up all the drops, obviously. So that's that might be in some situations what people do,
Okay, yeah.
But familiar card is just high value because there's no real replacement for it. And it just packs onto everything you already have.
Yeah, I understand why people go to Sphere now for the familiar cards and everything. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see that we got everything kind of, so drop and familiars. I'm trying to keep track. Okay. Your hyperstats and stuff seems distributed pretty well, so I'm assuming that you have either looked into that or already found some kind of guide into that somewhere.
Yeah, I just figured, I have a 100% crit rate, so put in crit damage for more damage, and then I'm just trying to one-shot the mobs like comfortably, so I don't have to like hit them like 2 or 3
600
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, like every time I try to like level like a character that's under 200 and I have to hit the mobs like more than like 2 times, it's just like I don't want to play anymore. Like
unless you attack really quickly or something, then you can kind of get away with it. But you don't want to be like it's like you're chopping down a tree and every single monster is a tree, right?
I hate that. That's why I also enjoy Adele, because it's like one button, and then I know like her other skills like just kind of like come out and like kill like whatever's left. So it's pretty enjoyable in that way. I found Arc enjoyable in that way too, because I didn't have to like hit it like more than once with like a mobbing skill. It just like dies, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty nice,
Yeah, so Arc gets a bit more, because Arc has the particles, right? The spell bullets, which you can rely on very early on, and then in the middle it's like hard to rely on it. You need a lot of funding for them to actually be really good and start killing, because their range isn't terribly far. But I guess Adele has the Hunting Decree, right, which is like the floating swords all around. But then when you get stronger, you can summon them, and you can do the blossom and everything, so you can cover even more of the map, and you just have a lot of random stuff around the map just killing while you're just hopping around with one other skill.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I enjoy Adele so much. I just go around, press cleave, and then allow like, the swords just like go around, slash everything up.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. I just have my hyper stats allocated so that I can better one-shot the mobs.
When it comes to inner ability, have you looked into that at all?
I think so. I know that I'm supposed to. There's optimal inner abilities for Adele, and it's like the first one is like skip cooldown or something, or boss damage, and the second one being crit. And even though I have 100% crit, I'm assuming it's so I could take some of the blocks out of crit and Legion and put it into like boss damage or IED, which is why you'd want crit for the second line. Is that correct?
Yeah, or out of the hyperstats, depending on where your character is at. Most characters also, it takes a little while for them to get to the Legion that you're at, so they don't really have not the Legion blocks, but maybe not even the Legion members with the crit rate that you already have. So they might be very further away of that 100% that you're already at. But it's mainly that and the Link skill, like being able to move the Phantom Link skill out and replacing it with a damaging Link skill instead. So any
Yes,
any of
yeah.
those pieces, right? Because like the Legion member, Legion bonus, hyper stats, and the link skills are all like a puzzle that are trying to fit together with your character's kit to make sure that you have that 100% crit rate, and and then the optimal balance between critical damage, boss damage, and IED basically.
Yeah, so I think with my setup, uh, I have no hyperstats into crit rate, so most of my crit rate is coming from just like my base stats from Adele, and then also for my Legion board, filling up all the crit rate with member bonuses and with Sharp Eyes. So I don't have anything invested into crit rate besides those sources. So as far as my second line goes, I'm pretty sure there's like another optimal line because I don't have like my link skills. I don't have like the Phantom link skill to like crit anything since I already hit 100.
Yeah, so when it comes to like optimizing for bossing, it would be like you throw that Phantom in there and then you just move all of your critical rate that you don't need. Like you move a little bit into hyperstats, which is very cheap in the beginning, right? So you can get like 5 or 6 super cheap. And then that will allow you to move all the critical rate into IED, and that will increase your damage on bosses way more than anything else you could put in there right now would, right? You're basically creating an extra IED link skill that you don't have yet by using a Phantom instead, and basically your stats kind of become flexible in that way. So if you were to do more different types of content, that's how you would want to move stuff around to optimize for those numbers. And then again, you can look at the progression grid to see like what are those numbers that you want to aim for, right? Specifically for like the IED, like where do you want that number to roughly be, so that you don't go super over and actually hurt your damage, and so that you don't go short and then hurt your damage, right? There's like an optimal sweet spot to be, because if you don't have enough IED, then your damage doesn't go through, and then all of the funding that you've done and all of the damage that you've locked onto your character doesn't efficiently get put onto the boss. But if you go over, then you will have cut into the amount of damage that you could have gotten, and even though a bigger percent of your damage will go through, the amount of which that percentage goes through is so much smaller that it ends up being lower than, on the sweet spot, basically.
Okay, so for inner ability, would you say it's fine to just roll like item and drop rate lines, since I'm not really focusing on like bossing or anything?
Yeah, I would go for meso and drop rate if you can. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, I know that like this Sunday there's supposed to be like a 50% off inner ability, so should I just like try to roll for those lines on that day?
Oh, is it this Sunday? Yeah, if that is, yeah, then that would be a good time to do it. For the long term, if you're planning to maybe min-max on your character and go crazy eventually, you probably want to avoid throwing literally everything in terms of honor experience into the pit. Oh yeah, there is a reset. Yeah. So I would probably use circulators to get to legendary, and then kind of just, you probably have a few left, throw a few more and see if you can just hit the 20% meso on the top line. And if you can, I think most people, their first inner ability would be like a 20% meso line from the stuff, and then roll until they get anything drop rate, like a 5 or 6 or 8%, whatever, epic line drop rate, something like that. And then you just hold on to that for a while. If you end up rolling 20 drop, you can do that as well, because, that'll help with the nodes. But, because of the percentages and because of what stacks, right? Like equips going possibly up to 200 and meso going up to 100, the 20% is typically more valuable as a meso line than as a drop rate line.
Okay, so like basically just like roll the top line meso and then second line drop whatever, just so I don't like kill all my honor XP, right?
Yeah, you could just lock the meso and then, roll a few times, and if you get to see anything drop, you keep it. You can set like a bottom of honor experience that you are not willing to go below. But if the character is mainly just going to be training and like a farming character, and it's not really as important to min-max on the bosses, you can go pretty low now, because you have a whole bunch of levels and a whole bunch of time and bossing and everything to get them back. One thing though, that is, if you're not going to actively do weekly bosses and get all the honor experience from that, then your growing of honor experience towards trying to get into the late game and end game eventually is gonna be very slow. It'll basically be like not harvesting any plants and flowers and then getting to 250 and then wanting wops all the time and then having to start from zero, basically. It's also one of those processes. The earlier you start, the more buffer you give yourself.
Yeah, and you said to use the Miracle Circulator to roll the Mezzo top line.
Yeah, because if you roll with circulators, you always get the biggest possible number within the variation of the line. And otherwise, you could roll like, I think is it 17 or is it like 18, 19, or 20? I think maybe also 17. And they appear at different percentages. And then the lowest amounts within the line have a higher percentage of prevalence than the highest number. But if you roll circulator, you always get that guaranteed highest number. That's why also if you're going for the eventual highest best inner ability, you always circulate first for the unique line on the second or third line to get that 20% crit, and then once you have that, you lock that in, and then you try to go for the top line. It's better that way.
Okay, so with the Miracle Circulator, I see that it costs 19 million to cash out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it says it only works on epic ability or higher, so when you use that, does it reset all 3 lines to like the highest maximum value?
Yeah, but it just rolls to a random line, and then whatever line it gets the highest number within that. But there's also a very good chance of tiering up to legendary with them, so that's why they're just good value.
Okay, and it says only works on epic ability rank or higher. Is that only applicable to like the first line? Like as long as the first line is epic or higher, you can just use it.
Yeah, well, yeah, technically also the first line, yeah, but it's just like the coloring of the ability. So you have unique, so that's higher. But yeah, your first line is always going to be the same tier as what tier your inner ability is, yeah. So it's either or is would be correct there, yeah.
Oh, okay, so I'm just set to use it then. Like I could use it anytime, just try to roll the legendary top line.
Yep, you could, yep. Ideally, when it comes to like later on trying to optimize your inner ability, you'll always want to do it during a 50% off as well, so that if you end up rolling that unique inner ability, right? Like let's say you have now 20% mezzo and you get like 8% drop, you hold that for like 40 levels or something, and then you're like, okay, now I want to go hard, now I want to get that crit rate to optimize and everything. Then if you roll circulators and you get the 20% crit, and then you hold on to that, well, now you just downgraded 20% mezzo to 20 crit, and it's almost like a direct downgrade, because if you don't do it during an event, you can't then, well, you could start locking in and rolling for the top line, but then you're doing it basically at double the price, right? So typically the circulating is still done during a 50% off, although in your case right now, you could do it, yeah, you could do it right now if you wanted to, for sure. Because you're not going to be, right, you're not going to be logging and rolling afterwards. Or not too much. So you could do it now and then on Sunday basically get the drop rate, something like that.
Okay, so what you're saying is like right now I could just buy the legendary circulator and try to roll the legendary top line Miso, and then just wait for the 50% off to like roll some second line or something.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, that's useful to know. I didn't know I could get like the legendary top line of like Miso, whatever, just by using the circulators.
Yeah, it can tier up, and then so if you check !inner ability in the chat, the second link there has a wiki link to where you can see all of the possibilities. So if you look for Mezzo obtain, for example, Control F, Mezzo, here we go. Then you can see like, okay, if it's rare, then it can be 3, 4, or 5, 40%, 35%, 25%. Epic can be 8, 9, or 10. At these percentages, and then unique is 13, 14, or 15, and then legendary can be 18, 19, or 20. Now you can see the percentages as well, so that's why the circulator is so nice, right? Because you have 100. If it rolls mezzo, then boom, it's always 20%, and otherwise it's only 1 in 4 chance.
Okay, so with those values, what it's saying is that like I have like the mezzo top line, right? Mm-hmm. And it's saying that I have a 25% chance to roll 20%, and then 35% to roll 19, and 40% to roll 18. Yeah,
so if you were use honor experience and it's mezzo, then this would be the distribution for what percentage would come out, yeah. But this is like after it's already RNG rolled that it is mezzo obtain, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I got it. Obvious on some level, but not. But it's obviously not like every roll has 1 in 4 chance of rolling 20% mezzo. That would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I understand that. No, there's no way, the 20% mezzo top line is gonna be 25%. Yeah, it's only if you roll like the mezzo line and the top line. Yeah.
Otherwise, with just these lines, you'd already be at 100%. So it will always be mezzo, right?
Yeah, that'd be really nice.
Well, for a lot of people, that would be really cool. I mean, it's a really good standard to start off with mezzo obtain,
Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna, after this, just like buy legendary circulators and try to roll that.
Yeah, I think at this point, especially because you're trying to get started, it's going to be the cheapest Mezzo Obtain line that you get. Plus, it doesn't go into that max of 100%, right, from the equips. So it's like 100% from there, and then up to 20% from the inner-ability, and then a little bit from your Phantom in the Legion board. And then on top of that, it's going to be WOPs and the Legion buffs, right? The Legion wealth buffs. And that's pretty much where all of your Mezzo Obtain is going to come from, as long as you have enough drop rate to always get a bag, right? And then it's mainly just going to be kill speed. So those are the big factors that go together to optimizing your income.
Yeah.
Okay, other than that, on the stat window, I don't think we have much more that we need to look at, or anything that you have any questions about there.
Yeah, I think that's good. No questions with that.
Okay, so hyperstats all make sense. So did you have any questions for the Matrix?
As far as the Matrix goes, I know there's like a link with like the perfect nodes, or the perfect nodes.
Mm-hmm.
So for those, do the skills have to be like in order? Or can they be like in any order? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the order they're in, since they all the node gains experience as a whole, right? So when it comes to what level anything in the node is, it doesn't matter where they are. The only part where it matters is when you are trying to level them up. You can only level them up with other nodes that have the same top skill. So like the one on the top right, with the one that starts with the Rain of Destruction, right? That one is level 3, and that's only because you had other nodes that also started with the Rain of Destruction, and then you were able to fuse them onto this one to level it up. So when it comes to leveling, that part is important. And then the second part that is kind of important is that you cannot equip multiple nodes that have the same starting skill. So if you have another one that also starts with Rain of Destruction, you wouldn't be able to equip it together with that level 3 node. You can only equip one of those two. Which kind of makes sense, because you'd want to fuse it into the other one anyway, right? So as long as you have this set of 4 nodes, and you have every single skill in there twice, which I think you do, right?
Okay, I'm not really sure, because like, okay, let me just give you an
Okay,
example.
so top right is Cleave and Rain and Blossom, right? And then you have Dispatch, Rain, and Blossom in the bottom. So that's Rain and Blossom done. And then you have one Dispatch, one Cleave. And then one to the left of that has Cleave, Hunting Decree, and... what is that top one?
Which node is it? Sorry.
The one in the middle, like the level 1 in the middle with the Cleave on the left side.
Oh, Cleave, Aether Bloom, and Hunting Decree, is that the one?
Oh, it's a bloom? Okay. So then you have 3 blooms in total, right? And then the left one has Magic Dispatch, and... ooh, what is that top one? Is that Impale on top?
The one to the very left?
Yeah, very left.
Aether Forge and Noble Summons.
Noble Summon? Aether Forge, Noble Summons, and Magic Dispatch, right?
So it's from top to bottom, Aether Forge and Noble Summons, Impale, and then Magic Dispatch.
Yeah, so Impale you eventually don't want, so what you're going to be looking for is another Hunting Decree and another Aether Forge. And what you're going to look to get rid of is one of your either blooms, because you have 3 of those right now, and the Impale. Those 2 you want to get rid of eventually. Where they end up is not as important. For some characters, you want to min-max pretty hard on getting them in the right configurations on the right nodes, so that you can switch out boost nodes for skill nodes instead to optimize. But again, this is mainly the case if you're trying to boss and your character is, for example, very burst heavy, and then you need to get all of those skills together to optimize your burst to be able to kill the bosses around your level. And since for you that's a lower priority, you could basically just get the nodes in any configuration, just like level them up roughly evenly, and Bob's your uncle, because you use all of the skills for both mobbing and bossing, so there's no discrimination there on where they have to be, really.
Okay, so all right, my question is, with you have like a nodestone kind of Google sheet here, and so your first one says Cleave/Hunting Decree, Grave Proclamation, and then Plummet. So like, my question is, does Cleave always have to be the first top node, or can it be like in any order within the first?
Any order, yeah. Like I said, like the only way it matters is which ones you can use to level them up with, and to make sure that you don't have multiple that start with the same thing. Like if you find, because you want every skill on 2 boost nodes, right? Because a boost node can go up to level 25, be in level 5 slot, up to 30, and then every skill can be boosted up to 60 levels. So if you optimize, you have every single skill you want to boost, and then you put them in 2 separate. But let's say that you find Cleave, Hunting Decree, like also it says like Hunting Decree and Grave Proclamation, like those are always together. So you basically just, typically people just mention the first skill of the line. So they say Cleave, Hunting Decree, Reign of Destruction is usually how you would say that node. But if you find Cleave, Hunting Decree, Reign of Destruction, and you find Cleave, Reign of Destruction, Hunting Decree, you can't equip those 2. So then it matters what the top one is. Once you have a Cleave node, that one's locked in, and now you're going to be looking for either a Hunting Decree, Cleave, Reign of Destruction, or a Hunting Decree, Reign of Destruction, Cleave, basically. But in your case, you could also look for a Hunting Decree, Etherforge, Reign of Destruction, for example, as long as you have everything twice. So that's why I'm saying, like, if I'm looking at your combination, what you're looking to get rid of is the Impale line and one of your Bloom lines, and you're trying to add a Hunting Decree line, and you're trying to add an Etherforge. Then you have all of those 6 skills twice, and then you're good.
Okay, so just to kind of like reiterate that, what I'm looking for is a node with Hunting Decree, Etherforge, and Reign of Destruction, and then get rid of the node with Impale and then one of the Aether Bloom ones.
If you want to like purely min-max optimize within that grid, but like I said, for the Adele you don't really have to, because the skills are always on for both mobbing and bossing, and you don't need that many skill nodes as Adele. Like you're typically very early on, you're very good. Like the only thing you'd want to add here is probably decent speed infusion, and then you're just completely golden.
Okay, I just like with the nodes, I want to make sure that
for sure. So all of the basically at this point, all of the nodes that you open that start, so where the first node is one of those 6 that you eventually want to level, you want to probably hold on to that one for now until you find the combination of 4 perfect nodes that together form 2 of everything, and then you want to commit to those 4, and then you can, whatever doesn't start with one of those 4s, you can immediately extract, and what does start with one of those 4, you can immediately level up to it. Because the thing is, like, let's say that you can replace the middle one, right? The one Cleave, a Hunting Decree. Let's say that you can find a Cleave, a Hunting Decree, and an Etherforge for that one instead. So you're, 2 birds in 1 stone, right? You get rid of the extra Blossom, and you can get the Forge in there. Now, for the last node, you only have 2 outs anymore, because you're gonna need Etherforge, Hunting Decree, and Magic Dispatch, or Etherforge, Magic Dispatch, Hunting Decree, right? There's only 2 possible nodes of all of the configurations that will perfectly fit your prime nodes, your tri nodes at that point, right? Your perfect nodes. So the earlier you lock in, the harder it gets to find the last one. So usually in the beginning, I like to be a bit more open. Just keep all of the nodes that start with Reign of Destruction, with Blossom, with Hunting Decree, with Cleave, with Magic Dispatch, and with Etherforge, all of those, until you see the combination of 4 that gives you your perfect puzzle, and then commit to those. And then you can, because then you're locked in, right? And then you'll keep more options open, and that'll be faster that way.
So you know how I have like 3 nodes with Aether Bloom. I'm just trying to figure out like which one I should replace, like, in the long term, and so I don't accidentally like.
Well, you don't know yet. You'll have to see which ones you open, and that will decide which one you end up switching out.
Okay, all right.
Right, because if you find a Reign of Destruction, Cleave, and Etherforge, then you switch that one out. You just use this level 3, you unequip it, and then you just equip the right. And if you find the other one, right, not just if you find that one, but if that happens to be the one that you have to switch, then you can just use this level 3 node as a boost node on the other one, and then all of the experience on the level 3 node will get transferred into the other one, and it'll go to level 3 or level 4.
Yeah.
But it's better to do it at lower level nodes, right? Because you're not as locked in yet. Because what happens if maybe the 4 that you... Like, let's say that all of these were already like level 9 or level 10, and you had the same configuration, so there was a little bit of loss optimization, and now you open nodes, and you actually find the perfect 4 that do what you want, but it's like 2 of them are different starting nodes. Now you can't use those to boost in the other ones, and you have to extract them. And the higher the node is, the more efficiency you lose on extraction versus just feeding it. So in that sense, you're in a good position now that there's like no harm, no foul, no losses.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, just a lot of opening and getting rid of the ones that are not part of the 6 for now.
Right.
But I guess you're already doing that part, right? Because I see you have some level 2s and some level 1s, but you didn't really keep any of the other ones, so that's good.
Yeah.
So you feel good about Matrix? Or did you...
Yeah.
Okay.
No, everything looks good now.
Good. All right. Link skills, do you have any questions there? Or is that self-explanatory?
I think as far as link skills go, I think I'm not really sure, but I think the link skills for mages and like the thief, explorer, mage, and thief combination, that's like a better combination for mobbing, but I don't have those ones. Is that correct?
I would say it's mainly for bossing as a combination.
Oh, okay.
Because like the thief, the mage applies a debuff, right? When you hit them, but if you're trying to one-shot, then that hit immediately kills them as well, so then the debuff doesn't really get any benefit. So the same thing would be like the Cadena Link skill, where you do more bonus damage on a debuff target, but if you're mobbing and you're one-shotting, then that part is never applying. That's more specifically for bossing. And the Thief one, kind of in a similar way. I think the Thief one and then the Cane one that you have on, the Time to Prepare, I would say probably get more utility out of bossing, but for most people, I think they're always like link skill number 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15, like in terms of priority, where they either just barely make the cut or they barely don't make it, depending on your accessibility for other links. Because you got enough crit rate, you got the... Yeah, so in your case, I would the only thing I would change, I think, is to replace the Time to Prepare with something that does stable, constant damage. So either an upgraded Jet Link skill, or what's it called? Or like the Xenon Link skill. So that you always have like the damage up, so that you have your baseline damage is higher than now, which means you can more guarantee a stable killing speed.
Okay, and the Xenon Link skill being the all stats plus 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh yeah, 10%.
So,
yeah, if it was just plus 10, then it wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I just try to optimize my link skills to like one shot and get the most EXP possible. So I think
all the other ones look fine. Yeah. So if you put the Xenon in now, and if you ever work on a Jet Link skill, then you probably replace the Keen Edge with the Jet Link skill, because then that one is probably going to be the lowest one.
Okay, yeah. So I'll just replace Time to Prepare with the Xenon one.
Yeah, because you want your baseline damage to go up, so that you can do clean rotations without having to like go back for monsters that are left behind, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I hate it when that happens. Like I hit like a mob and then it doesn't die, and I'm like on the other side of the map. I'm like, come on now. So. Or
you come back and you see one monster with just a completely clean HP bar with like 3 HP left. You're like, okay, well, another spawn lost. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. But yeah, as far as link skills go, I don't have any questions on that. I just optimize it for mobbing and HP.
Yeah, all the other ones look solid. Yeah, some classes might need like knockback resistance and stuff, but you're completely cool without needing any of that, so that's good. And you don't need a crit rate, right? You could, if you wanted to, optimize and like at the levels, you could move into a crit rate link as well, maybe one or two, like in those same spots, right? Like Keen Edge or the Xenon or by Time to Prepare is, and then move your Legion grid from critical rate into bonus experience instead. So that, because if that doesn't hurt your kill speed, right? If your kill speed stays the same like that, then you kill the monsters at the same rate, but you get more experience for the kills, the same way that we mentioned that in hyperstats.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
That could be an option.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Legion, you're all set, right? With the order and everything. I don't know if you've ever seen the links command, because the way that we talked about the Legion, talked about the link skills, it's kind of like mentioned in here with like the general order to level things in, which, you know, a lot of things are already done, but also like when they come into play and like what part of the game they're impactful for. I don't know if you've seen this before.
Yeah, this is one of the documents I looked at all the time and kind of like factored in when I leveled up my links and legions. So yeah, I pretty much have everything you know, completed like Shade, Hayato Jet, the other crit damage, level 200 block.
It's basically like the last 10 or something that are next on the list, right? Or like the last 15 or something. Shatterer, Heroes. Yeah, you've got the Explorer Thieves, Explorer Warriors, and then Cygnus, and then Xenon, and then Kaiser. All the way up.
Yeah, just missing. Yeah, just kind of missing like those last ones at the bottom.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, as long as you got like the first 30, then you're chilling. That's
Yeah. So with this like the sheet that you have, I'm pretty good on that.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Okay. And we talked about familiars and everything. Okay, so we can dedicate the rest of the time specifically to equips.
Yep.
And how to progress throughout that. So how are you preparing right now? Like, what kind of dailies, weeklies, and stuff are you doing to kind of prepare to get from where you are to the next step?
I have my friend take me a CRA, so I'm good at CRA gear. I just only started doing the weeklies for Scrapyard and I think it's Dark Road Tree.
Yeah.
I don't have a reliable way of killing Lotus and Damon though, so that's a problem.
We can grow into that, right? I mean, I think it's normal for everyone in your situation to not have that.
Yeah, just like you know, in terms of equips, like I do have the Absolab glove.
Okay.
I know that I'm supposed to move into like the Absolab shoes and cape, but again, I don't have a reliable way to get the boss cores from Lotus and Damon to get those, you know, like those stones required for the shoes and cape. But I'm pretty good. Like I'm pretty good at doing the weeklies, and I know that you can do it on multiple characters.
Yeah.
I don't feel like any rush to like, you know, get Absolab gear or anything. But I just mainly just want to be at a comfortable point where I'm one-shotting. So I feel like that probably requires me to replace the penciler stuff pretty soon, though.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, again, like some people could do it, but it all just comes back down to progression grid. Like, hey, if you have got like a really big legion, your nodes are very high level, you can wear Pencilier and get to 250. Like, you know, but it's always like Pencilier is like on the lower side, so you have to find something else to compensate it with. And if you don't have something else to compensate it with, then yeah, you need to upgrade the Pencilier. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest questions that I have for in terms of gear, right, is so Absolab is level 160 and then Pencilier is 140, and then I was told by my friend, like I do have the antique root boots, the 151 CRA boots, whatever. So my Penciler is at 12 stars, and I know I can transfer to the 150 boots to get 11 stars. I'm just not sure when is most optimal to do that, because you know, upgrading Penciler is much cheaper than upgrading like the 150 160 boot. So like when should I really transfer the stars over? Because like I'll get stronger, but then it'll just make the upgrade cost a lot more. Messy, you know.
Yeah, sure. We'll taking into mind, or keeping in mind. But yeah, using advantages of Transfer Hammer for sure is going to be a big one. That'll save you a lot of money in the long run. Like you mentioned, the cape. The cape is typically not a priority super because the base stats of Tyrant is so high, right? So if that one is a little bit lower, that's not the end of the world. The main thing that's a big upgrade is the weapon, and what you would be sacrificing for that is the boss damage of the CRA set bonus. But if you're mainly not going to be bossing, then that set bonus loss doesn't really hurt you at all. It just will give you your kill speed on mobbing up because of the higher base stats of the Abzo, the better access to flames, and you can go harder on your potential because you're going to be holding on to the weapon for longer. So the weapon upgrade is probably going to be the most instrumental in increasing a whole lot of damage. And then next to that, probably a little bit of upgrade on the secondary and the emblem is going to see a lot of damage increase. And then that will allow you, even, you know, if the numbers go down a little bit on the other things, for bossing you'll still be able to carry your weight, but you'll see mobs dying way faster. That'll help you with the nodes and the symbols. And then with the nodes and symbols going up and your money not really having to go anywhere else, then we go like harder into the accessories. When it comes to the accessories, you can just keep on using the like Zakum Iron Phase and just keep on using the boss accessory set pretty much. Which you are right now, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 set? You can keep that, and then the 7 set will also help. Or you can go, really pretty early on into the Commercy dailies and no weeklies there, into the dailies and go for the monocle and the tattoo, and then upgrade that because it is higher level. But then again, you have the flame disadvantage, you don't have the set bonus, so you have to overcome that, which basically means getting it to 17 star to be able to overcome that loss of those other things, which means more money spent, which means I think taking money away that is not necessary to take away. So my bet would be on to just mainly hold on to boss accessory equips and probably move into some event rings with the upcoming anniversary event, and use that to build out the Mezzo and drop rate set.
Okay.
Like as a general thing, and we can look at the equips specifically.
The Sweetwater stuff, I was just gonna say, I'm just doing the dailies with the dineros or whatever.
Okay, yeah. So I would, if you want to, I would look at the long-term approach for that, which would be to level up your boat, so that if eventually you want to go for more accessories and backups and going to 21 star and whatever, then you'll have way better dinero income in the long term if you want to do that. If in the short term it's just to try to get the accessories and get out, I don't think you even need to do that.
Okay, with the boat, is it just like unlocking more areas and voyages?
Yeah, you want to unlock all of the areas and then always do the furthest voyage you can. That way you increase the amount of experience per energy that you get, and you can level up your boat faster. And once it gets level 10, you can upgrade it, and then you can upgrade it again at level 10 to get the Dreadnought, and the Dreadnought allows you to move more items and has more energy. So eventually it'll overtake not doing that, basically.
Yeah, since I don't see myself going to the Sweetwater anytime soon, I could just unlock the voyages and just upgrade the boat, whatever.
Yeah. That's something you could do. Because I don't think you need the pieces that early. It'll just like set you back a little bit. It'll be more expensive to cube. It'll be more expensive to potential. I think it might be overfunding into the pieces, and you lose out on the flame advantage and the set bonus. So I think you're totally fine keeping the boss accessory pieces in your situation, what you're looking for.
Okay,
So if we scroll down, so the weapon right now, I would say the weapon by far has the biggest potential for damage increase, even as it is, but also in becoming Abzo, of course. Like as it is, because the flame right now is not giving any weapon attack, and that is the biggest opportunity for damage. Like if you look at your equipment, I don't know the exact stats, but if I look at your equipment inventory right now, the fact that the weapon doesn't have a weapon attack flame is the by itself the biggest and cheapest upgrade you can make.
Okay, so would you say that the weapon attack is better than just like the raw stat and all stat thing?
Yeah, very quickly so. And you can kind of use. Are you familiar with the flame score and the calculator for that?
No, not really.
So basically, once the further you go into the game, and the more likely you are to be upgraded in certain levels, and that's also demonstrated by the progression grid, the balance of how stats increase your output damage, it fluctuates a little bit, right? Like in the beginning, you have almost no percentage stat, right? Because you have like rare and maybe a few epic pieces, and your flames are garbage, so the amount of percentage stat that you have is very low, which means that all of the percentage stat that you have is extremely valuable, right? Because you can go from 6 to 12, you're just like doubling your percentage, so it's a huge increase, and every individual percentage has high value. The further you go, the more that decreases, but then the further you go on things like Star Force, the more base that you get, and then the more valuable the percentage gets again, because it multiplies more stat. So like every single thing you add it changes the equation a little bit, right? Like if you were to add 100% weapon attack percent, for example, then all of the attack that you have respectively becomes more valuable, because now it's just double the value. So how much attack compares to one stat will shift for you. So because that's constantly shifting, and you can hover over an item and see, oh, this makes your range go up or makes your range go down. Because it's constantly fluctuating, we have the thing called the flame score, where basically we just multiply the things that give you damage that you can roll from a flame. We give it a multiplication, and we just equalize it to one number, and the number would basically be, this is roughly how much stat, because stat counts for 1, we just redirect all of the bonus to stat, and this is like, okay, let's say you had 3% all stat and had 5 weapon attack and 20 strength, right? Because you're in Adele. That would roughly be the same as, let's say, like 70 strength. So that means that in no time is it exactly that, but the further you go into the game, the more you will get closer to that number, so that you become future-proof and you know that your flame is good enough and you don't have to worry about it anymore. And you don't have to like constantly change it whenever the balance of your account changes.
Okay, so in terms of the weapon, you think I should just use like the, you know, the powerful rebirth flame, whatever, and try to roll like more weapon attack or attack power.
Yeah, so we have like the flame calculator and the value. So roughly in the stage that you're in, 1 weapon attack is roughly going to be the value of 4 stat. But if you get a decent flame when it comes to, and then, you know, you have to know like the odds and whatever. But because your weapon has flame advantage, you know, that means you always get 4 lines to roll whenever you use a flame. So there's a high chance that the attack roll is one of those 4. And it's between tiers 3 and 6 or 4 and 7 if it's an eternal flame. And even a tier 4, I think, which is on average very cheap to roll, will be something like 30 weapon attack, which with a multiplier of 4 is like 120 flame score, which is probably the flame score of like 3 or 4 of your boss accessory pieces combined, or maybe even 5 or something at this current stage. So for like, when it comes to efficiency and bang for your buck, it's just head and shoulders above everything else. Okay. The main contributing factor would be how long are you going to keep it, right? If you are very close to an Abzo, then you might as well not upgrade and just get the Abzo real quick and then start upgrading the Abzo, because Abzo is even higher level, which means you get better percentages of attack increase with the flames. Plus it's an item you're going to keep longer, so that investment is going to have more. And when you transfer hammer, it doesn't copy over the flame. So that will be something that you have to consider in the equation of where do you spend your money.
Yeah, okay.
So do you know if you're close to the Abzo weapon at all or no?
No, I'm not close to that.
Okay.
I have like I was told that I'm supposed to buy the Abso weapon with the Damien coins ?
Yeah, ideally, yeah, because then you have the shoulder and the weapon coming from that shop, and then you have the shoe, the glove, and the cape coming from the other shop. So then you have 7 and 6. So it kind of equalizes the drops. Otherwise, you would have 11 from one shop and 2 from the other one, right? And it's a little bit more imbalanced, and it takes a longer time to get the whole set going.
Right. So I need at least like I mean, depending on how many like stones or droplets that he drops, and I don't have like a consistent way to like kind of kill him right now. So I only have like 1 stone from him, so I don't think I'll be getting the Absolute any soon. Yeah,
no, that's fine. Yeah, so then you wanna so I would say flaming the weapon is probably the most important thing you can do, like on a short-term basis. Compared to everything else, it's way efficient. So we can look at I would advise you to look at the flame command. There's like a whole video that goes into it, just to get more of the explanation. And then we have 2 calculators, one to like calculate the flame score, and then that's the number you can kind of compare to the progression grid to see if you're on the right track, right? And then one is a cost calculator, so you can see like how much is that on average going to cost, how many flames are you going to have to use for that. So in this situation, like with your weapon, so we could do that real quick. So it's a level 150 weapon, and you need to know the base attack, which is 171. So we say 150 range, 171. So we can already see here, these are the possible outcomes. So 3 to 6 from powerful flames and 4 to 7 from eternal flames. So that 42 at tier 5, that's probably what we're at least gonna try to roll for in the short term, and then we can immediately move on to other things. So let's say we hit the 42, right? We are a strength character and we are in late game. So we hit 42 weapon attack. So it would be equivalent of like 168 flame score. And if you look here, you see that the flame score on advantage items you're going to be looking for is probably like, you know, just over 40. So it's probably maybe like 60, like between 50 and 60 or something. So just that one flame is already the flame score of like 3 to 4 items. Or yeah, like roughly around 3 items. But you could be like, okay, but isn't it going to be like super expensive? So then you can look here and you can say, okay, I'm going to do other, I'm going to do a weapon, I'm going to use red flames, and I'm going to try to get tier 5 plus, right? So that tier 5, that's this. And then the progression grid as well, that's that tier 5 plus that's mentioned here. So that's tier 5 plus, and then so it will look, if you roll tier 5 or 6, it'll include that. And we put 0 on the damage as well. We get guild discount on flames. You see, its median amount is 6 flames, and the average is 10. Right? We could say like, okay, what if I wanted to go for a tier 6? That's 23 median, 34 average. That's still very doable. But 5, you know, this should be very, very doable. Median cost 54 mil, average cost 100. Compared to all the other upgrades you can make, so much more efficient.
Yeah.
So yeah, and all of it basically just comes from a general understanding of like how expensive is every single upgrade, and then kind of just like ranking them in your head. So I would say flame the weapon is number 1, and then since we are wanting to increase our base damage on most of our stuff, I would say probably getting the weapon you're going to be changing. I'll probably focus on getting the secondary and the emblem both to unique, and trying to get 2 useful lines on there. So attack is of course the most important, but if you can add on top of the attack line something that gives either damage percent or well, maybe crit rate, you know, because then you can move some legion around as well, or a line of strength, for example. I would say if you're not going to go for 2 useful lines, then I wouldn't go for unique, right? Because if you're going for unique, you want to capitalize on that investment of the tier up. So I would say 2 useful lines. And I would invest into those 2 over the weapon, because you're going to keep these even if you go past the weapon. Because if you can go to the Absolab weapon and you transfer hammer over, the unique line is going to go down to epic anyway. So I would prioritize getting those 2 pieces to unique over getting the Absolab weapon. The only exception there could be, are you getting Princess Snow runs as well?
Yeah, I am.
Are you close at all to that secondary?
Let me check.
I think you need 15 pieces, so I don't know where you're at with that.
Yeah, I have 8 pieces.
8, okay. So if you're pretty close to that, you could also hold off on the secondary and just primarily focus on the emblem, because that one is staying all the way. Are you close to Saren? Probably not, right? that's the next emblem, basically. So, you know, for emblem, the investment is good for a long ass time. If you're close to the secondary, then you could say like hold on to this one and then just get the other one to unique first, and then until you have something nice rolled on that, you just hold on to this one, which means you also don't really have to worry about the outcome on the other one because you're not actively losing damage.
Right, yeah.
And then to circle back a little bit to what you said about like when do you transfer hammer and stuff with the Abzo, ideally you don't really want to work on Abzo too much until you know for sure that you're going to be ending with 17-star Abzo. Like sitting around with like 11-star Abzo that's legendary, a lot of people will have that, but it just looks really weird because at that point it means you have to upgrade your Star Force on the Abzo, right? Because you can't transfer hammer into it anymore because then the legendary gets cut down to epic, right? So the order in general, I would say, is if you have the level 140 gear, very easy to replace. I would wait for a 1+1 event or a 30% off event and get it to 15 and then just hold it there, and then have at least one of the 150 pieces. And then wait until you can afford the 160 piece, until you can afford the Abzo, and until there's a 5 and 15 event. And then on the day of the event, you guarantee get the pencil layer up from 15 to 16, transfer it into the root shoe, again 15 to 16, transfer it into the Abzo boot, again 15 to 16, and then if you have the money, try to safeguard the last star from 16 to 17.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So basically just wait for the 5, 10, 15, guarantee the 16 for all the equips up to Absolab, and then safeguard to 17.
Yeah, and if that's further, if there is first a 5 and 15 and you have like 11-star stuff, it might be the move to just skip that 5 and 15 and wait for a 30% off first, just to get everything up to 15 first. Especially if you are maybe not completely ready with your drop and meso gear yet first, because typically you want to get the meso and drop gear first settled, and everything around like 11 or 12 star, that's fine. And then once the money starts rolling and then the events, the Star Force events come around, then you look towards your equips, get backups, and on the days go hard. And then first prep everything to 15, then make sure you have the equips, and then make your money back, right? And then the 5, 10, 15 comes around, and then you do basically the frog leaping. 1 up, 1 down, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up. And then you have the 16-star Abzo or 17, and then you can start thinking about maybe a little bit more flames and a little bit more potential.
Okay, so is it just more efficient to use the 30% off to get up to 15 then, or?
Yeah, so with Star Force as well, we have from Brandon as well, he also has a calculator for that. and you can put in the numbers yourself to see. So let's say that we have a level 140 piece, and we don't do star catching, we don't do safeguarding because it's 140 lol, and we're going up to 15, and let's say we're starting at 11, and we don't have MVP discount, none of that. You can just see like how much is it roughly going to cost. So it's like median cost is 286, average is to 400. So if you're doing a single piece, you tend to look at the median. If you're going to do a whole bunch of stuff, it's better to look at the average to have a little bit of a buffer. Plus, you're more likely going to be closer to the average if you do more attempts. So that's if there's no event. Okay, then you can see during a 5, 10, 15, it's going to be a little bit cheaper, 278, and then average to 374. And that's because 10 to 11 always succeeds, right? And it takes the variance off there. But it's only a little bit cheaper. Let's say you get a 1+1 event, it's going to be even cheaper because now 10 to 12 can do a double jump. So now you see it's already even cheaper. And then you can say 30% off, and now it's even cheaper than that. So that's basically the order when it comes to getting up to 15.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason we wait on the 15 event is because let's say that you have a level 160 and you're at 15 and you want to go from 15 to 17 and you have no event at all. Now you're looking at 750 median, 1.1 bill average, and now you do it during 5, 10, 15 and you're just cutting that pretty much in 3, right? So you get so much more value out of your money just by being a little bit more patient and doing it during an event.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
So I guess towards the future, if you're ever worried about like, well, what do I invest in? Because it is hard. You can't just look at an item and be like, oh, this is probably going to be about 1 bill and the other one is probably 600 mil, so I should do this one. For me, it's pretty self-evident now because of all the experience I have. If for you that's not self-evident, you can always go back to the calculator, look at the numbers, and you can get peace of mind of like, okay, these are just the best odds. And if you fail, you fail, but at least you gave yourself the best odds of succeeding.
Yeah.
Or you can always ask in the chat and be like, yo, I'm doubting between this and this, and I see the numbers here and it's pretty similar. What do you guys think I should do,
Yeah, that calculator is pretty useful.
Yeah, I would say it's very useful, especially if you have multiple events. Like if there's a no boom room and a 5, 10, 15 and a 30% off at the same time, you can just tick all the boxes and boom, it just calculates it. And this is why you hear some people, I will always say like past 15, if you're going past 15 stars, I would always use a 5, 10, 15. Some people are like, I want to use 30% off instead. And you can see why that is. Like, let's say that you're going level 160 and you're trying to go for 22, okay? And let's say with a 30% off. Okay, so you see like, okay, that's 16.5 bill median. We're a little bit different order of magnitude now, right? And the average cost is at 24. And you click a few times to see if there's a big discrepancy here. It should be pretty close because they usually use 1,000 trials, right? So that number's pretty stable, percentage-wise. And you're like, okay, so 16, half, 25-ish, and then I always do 5, 10, 15. It's like, oh, that's higher. It's like it's not much, but it's like pretty consistently higher. So why would I do that? Well, the main reason I do that is because of the boom stats. So median booms here is 4, average booms 6 point something, and if you do 30% off instead, median booms is 8, average is 10 or 11. So what that means is a lot of that money spent is going into the extra booms, and if you just have one boom less, you're immediately saving like 10% of your costs, right? So
Right.
You're more likely to have fewer booms and to get closer to that number, like standard deviation wise, in my opinion. And that kind of reflects here in the percentiles if you look over there. Because like with 30% off, the highest percentile, it's still lower on that end, but it gets quite a bit closer. Plus, you see the fluctuation, right? There was a 60 bill there in one, and there was a 78 in another one. It's pretty wild. But mainly the other one is like some items you just don't have these kind of backups. It's mainly only CRA that you're going to have this, and then maybe Kana treasure rings if you've been running Princess No for 2 years. So that's usually how I look at that. So to sum up, I would say flame the weapon, work on the emblem, right? Unique, 2 useful lines. And then I would, with all the pieces that you have that don't have potential yet, if you are still actively doing the bosses for drops, I wouldn't invest in them yet, because you could get another drop with a really, really good flame, and then you don't want to have to abandon some half-cocked investment already, right?
Yep.
So that's what I would do. Once you have one, that you're like, okay, I'm committing to this. You get a decent flame on it. Then you just say, fuck it. And then the investment overpowers whatever flame you get. Unless it's literally like a 90 and 6 flame or something. Then you can be like, okay, I'm still going to abandon it. But then you can just use a calculator and be like, okay, what if I get a 90 and 6 flame on an armor on like a Zakum accessory? You know, usually I put this for 9 and then 3 and 10. Yeah. And so 90 and 6 would be 6 times 9, 54 and 90. So that would be 144. So you can calculate like, oh, okay, so this is like a 1.5 to 2 trillion value, right? So this is probably worth like leaving 500 or 600 mil in cubes for.
Yeah.
And then it becomes really, really obvious how good those flames actually are if you throw them into that calculator. So once that foundation is good, keep on doing your symbol dailies, you know, as many nodes as you can. You know what you're looking for in the matrix now. Then I would just go one accessory at a time to legendary. Try to get a line of mezzo or drop, and then as soon as you have one of those 2 lines, move on to the next piece. If you end up with like 5 drop, then you can already start re-rolling and start getting more mezzo instead, right? Because drop, at the most you want 4 there. Probably 3, especially if you're going to be using spirit pendants, right? Then you would go 5 mezzo, 3 drop, and 1, because one of the slots is taken at that point. But because of holy symbol, hopefully because of your inner-ability, and because of the drop rate on the 3, you'll still hit that 67%.
Okay, so as far as accessories, would you say it's okay to just tier them up to legendary to get the mezzo and drop lines then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can look specifically at which pieces you want. I think these, everything you have here in terms of the eye, the face, the earring, and the pendant is fine. For rings, you might do rings a bit later and wait for the anniversary event and just do event rings instead, because the base stats will be way better, so you have a little bit more of a buffer and just stronger pieces to work with.
Yeah.
Because I think the top line is a wedding ring, right? So, but that's probably not one we want to work on because it's lower level. So the higher, even if you get it to legendary, it won't be like a 20% mezzo line. I think it'll be like 12% or 10% or something. So that's a complete waste of money.
Yeah.
But the Treasure Hunter John and even the Silver Blossom, those are fine. So if you do those 2 and then you add 2 event rings, then that would be a fine set.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, and other than that, you probably don't want to invest into the Zakum belt, and because of Transfer Hammer, right? Because eventually we want to get to Superior belt, and that's the same level as the Zakum belt. So you won't be able to transfer your investment into the Superior belt. You'd rather want to go for the pink belt from Pink Bean, the Golden Clover belt, because that one is 140, and it's also part of the set. So you get set bonus, you get flame advantage, and all of the potential, you know, up to epic, and the Star Force that you roll into it can eventually go into the Superior belt, so you can maintain your investment better.
Okay, so would you recommend that I replace the Zakum belt with the Pink Bean belt? Or?
Yeah, I think that would be good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Unless you get lucky, you know, and you get like a reinforced or superior belt drop, because those base stats are really high. But yeah, in most scenarios you would do that instead. Yeah.
Is the reinforced belt better than the solid? It is, right?
There's reinforced belt in the solid. Yeah, it's cracked, then solid, then reinforced, and then superior.
Okay, yeah.
And the base stats, yeah, the base stats always go up. It's not like a sometimes they're better, sometimes they're lower or anything. No.
Yep.
And I guess, yeah, if you do get flames, I would just throw them on anything that has flame advantage, whatever is the highest level flame advantage item, and just get something on there. So after your weapon, that would probably be your, well, your cape and your CRA would be in the same group, but you probably do the CRA over the cape, because the cape is eventually going to get replaced, right, by the Absolab cape, but the CRA is going to stay, so there's more staying power there, so more investment out of the flaming there.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's not like you have an insane flame or crazy potential on the belt, and it's only like 9 stars, so that's a fine belt to drop as well without feeling like there's any major loss there, right?
Yeah, with the belt, you know, some of the stats should be made up. If I'm not sure if I get the 9 set equip, or how many do I have right now? Let's see.
You have 7 now, so if you replace it, goes -1 +1, so you stay at the same amount. The only way you could increase now is basically switching pendants. If you get like a Dominator pendant and then an Ephia's ring, or a Dominator pendant and a Mechanator pendant, but then you would break the set again whenever you use the the Spirit Pendant. Plus, it's really only useful if you're bossing, because the 9 set is 10% boss is the main appeal there. And if you're just going to be mobbing, it's not really important to go for the 9 set. It's more about filling the slots and getting the lines on there, right?
Okay, so but transitioning to the pink bean belt is just better, so because
Yeah.
I could like start and then
Transfer
to
hammer
the-
potential, exactly, yeah.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes down to all the other pieces, the flames are a little bit on the low end, but that will just slowly work its way up as you do more bosses. But there's definitely some pieces, like your pants, for example, like they're 15 star, that's really good, and 6% strength, but they have no flame whatsoever. So probably after the weapon, I'd probably throw some flames at your pants. Because you can very easily get like 60 or 70 strength there, just extra on top of what you have. Also with pretty minor investment. But again, you can look at the calculator to see, you know, what would be the expected cost there. Yeah, but you have all of your stuff as a line of strength. You have 6% on all the epic things, so that's good. Yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, so I would just those things, and then basically once you have one accessory at a time, everything is legendary. I would basically, the only thing I usually buy flames for is for your weapon or things you're going to transpose. So I would say in your situation, buy some flames to get, you know, what we talked about on the weapon, and after that I would just mainly focus on getting the accessories done, first like the potential on your emblem, right, and then the potential on the accessories, and then just slowly work your way up to Star Force event, and then getting into the Abzo stuff. And then once you're there and you work more on the potential on the Abzo, then you can think about flames. So it's like flames is like right now for one item, and then you don't really work on them for months.
Yeah, so do you think I should buy the flames from the Legion shop, or?
I would not. Depending on how hard you're going to go training, because you can really spend your Legion coins very, very fast if you're going to buy. Well, you don't need Legion EXP right now because there's a lot of EXP coupons. But if you're going to be using your Legion wealth in the future, you probably want to just bank up a little bit more coins first. And I would probably use either the upcoming event for flames if you want to, or just buy them for Mezzo in the shop.
Oh wait, you could buy the Red Rebirth flames in the general shop?
Yes. Have you ever visited the Hennessy's shop?
I have. I just know that you can buy the cubes. I didn't know
Yeah.
you could buy the
No, the
flames.
powerful flames are also there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So when it comes to like value from event shops and stuff, the powerful flames are therefore very low on that value. You want to look for Eternals if you're trying to min max in the higher level gear, especially on the arcane stuff, but pitch boss and all that stuff. But other than that, you basically just always buy powerfuls if you want to mass produce a good flame. But again, that's pretty low on the priority list to flame. That's gonna come later once you're really into the Abzo stuff and you have like dog shit Abzo flames or something. But again, then it mostly comes from bossing. So you just use all your bossing flames on your character, and then you just flame whatever is the lowest value, and you can always go back to the progression grid to see like, okay, what value am I going for, and which pieces are the furthest away from the value I'm going for, and then focus on those for flaming. Yeah, so I would say double check on the flame video, watch that one so you have that absolutely clear, and maybe the Star Force one just to make sure that you have all of that refreshed. Sorry, not the Star Force one, the Transfer Hammer one. It also talks about transposing, just so you have all the details in your brain, so that whenever something changes or you see an opportunity, you'll know it's an opportunity, you'll recognize it.
Yep.
Yeah, other than that, I think we're around our time. Do I have your cup in here as well? Oh yeah, cup has 4 attack, 5 also. Okay, that's not like the craziest flame I've ever seen, but that's definitely better than some of the other stuff, so that's not something that needs to be touched anytime soon. It's mostly, yeah, your weapon and then probably CRA stuff. And then you're going to be going into the Abzo stuff. And since the flame doesn't get taken over with Transfer Hammer, you can pre-flame your Abzo if you have it sitting, right? Because it's not going to get overwritten, so you can already work on the flame there.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any things that come to mind? Any last questions? Anything we talked about? Any resources you are maybe looking for?
No, I don't think I have any other questions really.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll upload it to YouTube and everything. If something comes up based on the session and you think it's pretty structural or pretty important, you just hit me up on Discord. Otherwise, for any questions, the chat is always open, so feel free to fire away there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Well, best of luck with everything, and I think your foundation of your very big legion is gonna, and picking Adele is probably gonna make it pretty smooth sailing. And I think with everything we talked about, you probably have some specific, like more specificity, right, in where to aim.
Yep.
And I think you'll do just fine. You seem to pick it all up pretty fast, so I don't think you'll have any major issues. But again, if you do, we're always here. So.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. Well, best of luck on everything, and I'll see you around.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Bye.
All right, bye.
Cool. All right. That was, I think, was Kyle one of the winners as well? Maybe. But remember, there are 2 winners every month. People who comment on the YouTube videos who say that they would like to win one of these sessions for free, get one. 2 of them, 100% chance to get one. So make sure you leave your comments if you're interested. If you don't want to wait and you don't like the RNG, there's also a link in the chat on what you need to do and what the prices are and everything on these sessions, and you can have one-on-one session. You want to have it privately? That's cool. You want to have it immediately? That's also cool. We have options. So if hopefully this mapped on to some of the questions that you guys had, and if it didn't, check one of the other 200 sessions that I've done, and if it did, I'm glad that it helped you out. All of the resources that we are talking about are all available through my Twitch chat. You just basically just put an exclamation mark and then whatever you're looking for, and it'll probably pop something up. One of the bots will give you something. If you can't find it, try exclamation mark commands, and it'll give you the list of all of the available resources that I have, which is a lot. And all of these will tell you what to click and then what to get. So if there's still something after all of that and you still can't find what you want, just ask me when I'm streaming, or leave a YouTube comment, or join Discord or whatever, and you'll be able to connect with someone very helpful from the chat or with myself, and we'll help you move forward and get that question that you have answered. So, with all of that said, don't forget to leave a comment if you want to win. Make sure to keep working on that totem. It's almost done. You got your last 15 minutes going. And thank you for watching. And I will see you on the next one, or live on Twitch if you want to.